y is f of x, it says y is a function of x, and I'm asking for f of 0. Can you tell me what is f of 0 in this case? Okay, it is how much? 2, because it says you go over to the input of 0, you look up the output for that particular input. So here it says find your input, remember this is f of x, right? So go to your x, go to 0,
You can have
output
fun.
is, oh, it's 2.
Some people may assume that this is the romper room.
How about
Some people
F
may
of
assume that this
3? What's
is
f of 3, everybody?
the romper room.
That wasn't everybody. Well, take it. Fine, whatever. Yeah, it just says you go to your input of 3, you find out what that output was.
So there was a number here where I was talking about.
This in this type of situation.
This
where
is
you
a
have
single
some sort of
series.
equation.
I just want to bring up the Dominion, the fun Dominion, which is doing it correctly without friction. I should know how to do it. I look at you in the field and see positive
Isn't always the
motivation.
best for us to represent a function. The reason is because in
This
this class
is
we're going to look at a
not
lot of
even a
different
single.
functions
This
at once,
is
and
0
you want
to
to be able
big
to
to 1.
distinguish between them.
Like,
If I have just y equals a function, and y equals another function, y equals another function, and I say, look at the function y, you're going to be like, there's 3 of them. Which one are you talking about?
Okay.
We often use this type of
I
notation
want
to distinguish between them.
this
So
right here.
if I said, instead of y equals
We're gonna want
y equals
silver,
that
gold,
function,
or brown,
I want
whatever.
f of x, or g
The
of x, or h of
resistivity
x.
of the
That way
wire
we can
here.
distinguish
We
between
get
those graphs
into
and
the
those formulas,
NP
and these equations.
about why these fish
Also,
and
what it
people
lets us
are a
do
single series.
Is if I ask you to plug in a number,
right?
it will tell you inherently what number you plugged in. For instance, if I say for you here, can you find me?
Okay, this he'll talk about it like it's a farm piece of equipment
what does
or
f of 0 do?
in
What's
a
this
chemical lab
do for
where
you?
I need it to heat something,
So let's
turn
plug in-
something
okay,
off,
so let's
and do
plug
a
in 0
simple
and find out
logic
what the
that
output is.
I
Can
could
you plug in
physically
0
do,
here?
but I want the introduction to the function to cover a lot of the work for me in the field.
What's nice about this is if you plug in 2
And
for
when you
this
do
one,
a single
well, you're gonna
series
get
like
y
this,
equals 2. But
Newtonian,
does this tell you what you plugged in
against
to get the 2?
what the photoelectric
No.
field and
Does
stuff
this one
is going to
what
tell
you
you.
plugged in to get the 2? Yeah, this actually will give you a coordinate point. It will say you plugged in 0, you got out 2. And that's
So
fine.
when we get
This
back
is
to
one
that
other
graph, just
reason
so I
why we
say it
use that
again,
function
when you
notation.
get it organized of this many fish and this many people, I caught that many,
Let's
we'll
go back to those
talk about,
graphs,
well,
too.
X is
Can
first
you tell
meeting
what is a
people,
function
maybe a
just by looking
timeline
at the
of the
graph?
distance of that wire from a radiant, E,
So for instance,
vector, or ray. It could be either of them, and depending on if I did that right or wrong here. They are very close. They want to be the alike charges repel themselves. This is a good way to describe this. They are in the same way a polarized field, where I'm basically saying one of the charges is negative, and it would be right-hand rule that we do it that way. Even if the wire in the machine was different, to do the fun dominion of this thing,
can you tell
you're
me
going to want to
whether these
either do
things
it on
are
some
functions or not, just by looking
linear
at
algebra,
We know we
trigonometry,
can tell with
geometry,
tables, right?
can
Because
fill
if
in
we
one of
have
these x's or
an input
values.
repeated with a different output, well,
Because
that's right there. We're going to be able to tell formulaically.
if
just
this
a
was a
little bit, but
football
right here,
field,
just by graphically,
and the
what's that
first
thing
play
called where you test
was
a line to see whether or not it
runs
is
of
a
people
function or not.
as the field is a PT
Yeah,
test.
vertical line test. So imagine, bless you,
Right?
it's a
Or,
powerful one. It's like a sneeze grenade going off.
A math test given to this room.
Sneeze grenade?
A function of the romper room
So
dominion.
disgusting. That's where my mind is right now. Okay, so if you imagine every vertical
When
line, it's supposed to touch
what
your
I'm
graph
doing right
only
here
one spot. If it
should be
touches
in a
at all.
different room.
So is this thing a
You
function?
students don't know
Yeah,
that
for
because
sure.
you're
Every
in the
vertical line
electron
hits this
fuzz, really, right?
diagonal only one
And
spot, so
or
yes, it's a function.
how this will integrate to the change of your electrical field, not knowing if it was this measurement from this measurement, whether Alice or Alice prime is relative.
How about that one? Is that a function?
And that changes the values of these equations, not by virtue of electricity. Very fixed, very fixed.
One-to-one function would be the horizontal
The
line
value
that's saying
here
that
is doing
every
two
input
things.
has one
It's-
unique output. It says it doesn't happen again. This is not one-to-one, but it
This is
certainly
going to create a
function.
value which we can
How about
inverse.
this one? Is this a
And those are
function?
those three wizards,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I could get to electrical. I could use
Now,
electrical
what
to
about- this
get
is an
to
interesting case. What
FMAs in
about
which
this
this
one?
fish
Is this
will
a function?
projectile momentum in bricks if we're saying
Does
if
every vertical line
that-
hit the graph at most once?
and or
Yeah. Yeah.
that
No, I told you
function
we hung up
would
because, wait a
base
second.
in that material. So let's go back to
Don't you
that
have to
circuit,
have
right? Let's
something
go
that
back
is
to the
0.0?
simple delay
Actually,
circuit
no.
is
Not every input
or a single
has
delay,
to have an output,
single
but
series
if
delay,
it does,
whatever
it only
was.
happens once. Do you
Single
see the
stage
difference
delay.
there? This doesn't
Right,
have an output. It's
the
undefined
battery
zero.
is
This would be like one
day-night
over X.
cycles.
But
Yeah,
if
or
it is defined,
cycles
then that
of
definition has to be one
casts
exact
times
point to be a
fish,
function.
or
So yeah, this is still a function.
there's a lot of zeros in there and
How about this one?
infinities. But we get the
No, this
choice to
fails it,
say,
because
like
if you
square
plug in
wave,
this point,
or figuring
you
out
actually get 1,
the
2, 3 points out. You can't
D
deal with
flip
that.
flop
So
and
this is
some of
fine.
that other stuff, because they actually
So
build
vertical
like
line
this.
test
But
vertical.
it
I'm not
is
going to write it down
a
because I know
monster,
you
and
don't
I
know it.
don't do
It says that you
breadboards.
imagine every possible
I would
vertical
get to
line.
one of them,
That
and I'd
vertical
kiss the
lines
ring
have
for a
to
good
touch
long little
every
while
point of
until
that
I
graph
felt
at
comfortable,
most
and hopefully
one spot.
you'll
So
do
touch the
two
graph at
things,
most
an
one spot. It
exclusive
can't
thing
ever
and a
cross
mutual
over more than
thing.
one spot.
And depending on probability how that goes, usually you see pawns make a
How many
lot
will feel
of...
okay with our very quick introduction to functions so far?
You would be in the
You having
bandwidth.
fun yet?
Hamiltonian. I mean, it's how you play it safe. Where's my bunny farm? Okay, so pawns are gonna hit odds comparatively when I know the three measurements.
let's
The
consider
three
one
wizards
more
in
thing.
here. What are these bunny ears? They all speak English, right? But some of them no speaky labor, and every once in a while the labor guy don't speaky boss, and it messes stuff up on the farm of the.
What is that?
Anyway.